It was one of those evenings that should have been completely forgettable. The ceiling fan spun lazily above the kitchen island, stirring up the thick, stale summer air. The oven clock blinked 8:56 p.m. in that soft blue glow, like it was trying not to be noticed. Outside, the streetlights buzzed faintly, casting long shadows through the partially closed blinds, and the whole neighborhood was sinking into that usual post-sunset haze, quiet, sleepy, winding down like clockwork. I was standing at the sink, rinsing out a wine glass, not because I needed to, but because I needed something for my hands to do. The dishwasher was humming behind me, filling the space with background noise. The house felt too clean, too still. Not the kind of quiet you get from peace. This was the kind that creeps in slowly, and once you notice it, you can't unhear it. The kind that feels staged. Then the garage door made its familiar groan, and seconds later I heard footsteps, light, measured, and unmistakable. Sneakers against tile. I turned toward the sound, already pasting on a smile. "There she is," I said, maybe too loud. Emma stood in the doorway, framed by the warm glow of the overhead light. Her ponytail was damp with sweat, cheeks flushed from effort. Those leggings of hers clung to her like they were part of her skin. Normally, I would have thought she looked amazing, glowing from the workout, vibrant in that post-gym way, but something in her eyes made my stomach tighten. "Hey, babe," she said casually, dropping her gym bag beside the island. She came right up to me, wrapped her arms around my neck, and kissed me. I kissed her back. Reflex, really. And then it hit me. Just a trace of something, barely noticeable, but wrong. Not her usual scent. Not the fresh sweat of a tough spin class. Not even that artificial berry lip balm she always used. It was something unfamiliar. Salty. Almost metallic. Off. I didn't flinch. Not visibly. But inside, I felt my chest tighten like someone had reached in and squeezed my heart in their fist. She kept talking, her words rolling out like a script. How brutal the class was, how the trainer didn't let up for a second, how her legs felt like spaghetti. I nodded, chuckled where I was supposed to, but I wasn't really there anymore. My mind was stuck on that kiss. That taste. I turned back to the sink and rinsed the same glass again. She leaned against the counter behind me, half in the fridge, grabbing a bottle of water. I watched her from the corner of my eye. My hands were trembling just a bit as I dried the glass. She didn't notice. "Can you grab me a protein bar?" she asked, her voice as casual as ever. I moved toward the pantry like I was on autopilot. Her voice, her smile, her whole routine, everything was perfectly on script. Except my gut was screaming that something didn't add up. I handed her the bar and just stared as she opened the wrapper like it was any other night. She took a bite, chewed slowly, then sighed like she was satisfied with her life, with the day, with everything. "You okay?" she asked, her mouth half full, glancing at me. "Yeah," I said too fast. "Just tired." She smiled and brushed her fingers along my arm as she passed. "I'm gonna hop in the shower," she said, already walking down the hallway. I stood there in the kitchen for a long time after the bathroom door clicked shut, not moving. That taste was still lingering on my lips, and deep down, I already knew what it reminded me of. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud. Saying it meant admitting it was real. So instead, I turned on the tap and let the water run over my hands. Hot. Almost scalding. It grounded me. Because for the first time in nearly a decade of marriage, I wasn't sure if I had just kissed my wife, or someone else's lie. It's unsettling, you know? That moment when you finally see what's been right in front of you the whole time. The next morning, while the coffee machine purred and birds started chirping outside, I sat at the kitchen table, watching her. The sunlight was soft and golden through the curtains, casting that warm morning glow. Emma moved through the kitchen like she always did, smooth, graceful, in that way that used to completely undo me when we first got together. Her hair was still a little damp from her shower, and her skin had that fresh, clean glow. She looked beautiful. But this time, I was watching closer. She poured almond milk into her cereal, 2/3 full, just like she always did. She scrolled her phone with her left hand, spoon in the right, smiling at something only she could see. Maybe it was a meme, or maybe it was a message. Either way, it was private. Innocent on the surface. But I couldn't look away. I watched the way her thumb moved fast, then paused. The way her lips curled into that tight, half-smile. The kind she used to give me. Something dark twisted in my chest. She looked up, catching me mid-stare. "You okay?" she asked, sounding casual, but there was something hesitant in her voice. "Yeah," I said, trying to sound normal. "Sleep okay?" "Like a rock," she replied, stretching her arms overhead with a soft yawn. "That spin class wrecked me." I took a sip of my coffee. "Which one was it again?" There was the briefest pause. A flicker behind her eyes. Calculating. It only lasted a heartbeat, but I caught it. "Spin with Michelle," she said smoothly. "We did like 10 miles in intervals. My legs are toast." I nodded. "Michelle, the crazy one, right?" She laughed. "The one and only." But something inside me took note of every word. Every syllable. I didn't even know why yet. Not completely. But something had split open, and my mind was already falling through the cracks. Later that day, I sat in the parking lot outside my office, just staring at the dashboard. I couldn't bring myself to get out of the car. Couldn't pretend everything was okay. I opened my phone. No real reason, just habit, I told myself. Just checking. I opened our shared calendar. Her spin class was there, exactly like she said. But the timestamp showed it had been added just this morning. At 6:12 a.m. A retroactive entry. My heart beat a little harder. Maybe she forgot. Maybe it wasn't a big deal. Maybe. But my hands, normally steady, were trembling again. At lunch, my thoughts looped like old film reels, out of order and scratched at the edges. Last Thursday, she told me she was meeting coworkers for happy hour but came home late, smelling not of wine, but cologne. 2 weeks ago, out of nowhere, she got super into yoga again, despite years of swearing it wasn't her thing. 3 nights back, she wore a brand new pair of silky pajamas to bed, then rolled away from me like I wasn't even there. Each memory was a tiny needle, and I was starting to feel like a man slowly bleeding out from cuts no one could see. That night, we sat on the couch, watching reruns of an old sitcom we both used to love. She laughed, resting her head on my shoulder, tracing lazy circles on my arm with her fingers, like the old days. But I wasn't watching the show. I was watching her. The small bruise on her collarbone, barely visible under the collar of her shirt. Fading, but still there. She caught me looking. "What?" she asked. I forced a smile. "Just admiring you." She grinned, kissed my cheek, and turned back to the screen. But I wasn't admiring her. I was trying to figure out who had left that mark. The silence between us had shifted. It wasn't loud or angry, it didn't crackle like a fight. It was quieter than that. Surgical. Cold. The kind of silence that listens from the corners and waits for you to catch up. By the 3rd day, I stopped pretending I wasn't seeing what I was seeing. Emma was in the shower, the sound of water crashing behind the door like a white noise machine. She was humming something upbeat, forgettable. I stood in our bedroom, staring at her gym bag like it held answers. Like it was the final act of a magic trick and I just had to know how it worked. Her routine was too tidy. Too practiced. Same bag. Same water bottle with the orange cap. Same navy towel folded in thirds. The precision didn't feel like habit anymore. It felt like a cover story. I knelt down and opened the bag slowly, careful not to move things around too much. Inside was what you'd expect: workout clothes, protein bars, a little deodorant, a travel-size perfume bottle. But then I found it. Tucked under a tank top was a tiny bottle of breath spray. Not her usual kind. This one was eucalyptus and mint. On its own, no big deal. Except I remembered that bitter tang on her lips. This was it. This was the cover-up. I didn't touch it. Didn't take it. Just stared at it like it had been whispering to me the whole time, just waiting for me to see it. The water shut off. I zipped the bag and put it back exactly the way it was. She stepped out a moment later, towel wrapped around her, steam trailing behind her like smoke. "You're up early," she said, drying her hair like everything was normal. "Couldn't sleep," I said, forcing a smile. "Coffee's on." "You're the best." She walked past me, and I caught a whiff of something, not her usual scent. This was heavier. Muskier. The kind that doesn't wash off easily. The kind that clings after two people have been too close for too long. My chest went tight. But I didn't react. I just recorded it. That day at work, I sat at my desk pretending to work. Staring at spreadsheets I couldn't read. Clicking through tabs just to quiet the noise in my brain. Then I opened a new tab. Mini spy cameras. Car installs. Wearable voice recorders. Clone apps. I didn't want to be that guy. I really didn't. I was always the trusting one. I never snooped. Never doubted her. But that guy, the trusting one, had kissed his wife and tasted someone else's echo. I ordered the camera. Overnight shipping. The next night, while she was soaking in the tub, I slipped into the garage. Her car sat there, quiet and innocent. I opened the back door and, with shaking hands, installed the camera under the center console. Out of sight. Perfect angle. No adrenaline. No thrill. Just silence and the soft click of something locking into place. Later that night, lying next to her in bed, I stared at the ceiling while she slept peacefully. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want a fight. I just wanted the truth, whatever it looked like. Because lies, they have a taste, a smell, a weight. And I was done pretending I couldn't feel them. The next morning, I kissed her goodbye like I always did. She looked stunning, of course, ponytail tight, mascara perfect, her lips a soft shade of pink. I might be home late, she said, slipping her keys into her gym bag. Thinking of doing a double session, spin and hot yoga. Ambitious, I replied with a smile. She grinned. Gotta sweat the week out somehow. Then she left. No hug, no kiss, not even a look back. I went upstairs and watched from the window as she backed out of the driveway. 3 seconds later, my phone buzzed. The car camera had gone live. Her music was already playing, something poppy, upbeat. She hummed along like everything in her world was easy. Like nothing was off. That was the part that chilled me the most. How calm she looked. How normal she acted. I sat at my desk and tracked her GPS route in real time. She drove right past the gym. Didn't even slow down. My heart dropped a little as I watched the little blue dot keep moving east, past the strip mall, past her favorite smoothie spot, right by the yoga studio she always raved about. Then it stopped. A small office complex. 3 buildings. 1 door, unmarked. Tinted windows. I zoomed in. My chest tightened. Roland Wellness and Recovery. She had mentioned it once. Months ago. Said she got a massage there when her back locked up. Called it super professional. I remembered that word exactly. Professional. The camera gave me a grainy but steady view of the parking lot. A few minutes passed. Then her voice came through, light and playful. "Hey you," she said, teasing. "Miss me?" Another voice, male. Confident. Familiar. Always. His face never showed on the screen. Just a hand. Tanned. Calloused. It reached out and rested casually on her thigh as she slid into the passenger seat. It was the kind of touch that didn't ask for permission. The kind that had happened many times before. She laughed, brushing her hair back. I barely got away this time. He was up early. That was me. I sat back in my chair, eyes locked on the screen, but I couldn't feel the room around me anymore. Just blood rushing in my ears. The rest of the footage was mostly muffled. Some laughter. The sound of movement. Clothes maybe. Then quiet. A long stretch of nothing. Then her voice again, softer now, but clear enough to make me stop breathing. "He has no clue." She said it like it was funny. Like I was a joke. Like I was some clueless little boy while the adults spoke in code around me. The feed cut out right after that. Camera went to standby to conserve battery. I sat there in complete silence, phone still in my hand, heart beating slow and cold. This wasn't paranoia anymore. This wasn't a maybe. This was real. She wasn't slipping. She was dancing. And I just lit the first quiet flame beneath the perfect stage she'd built for herself. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I wasn't tired. God, I was. But because my mind had shifted into some new gear I didn't know I had. A colder one. One that didn't panic, didn't scream. It calculated. Rage is messy. It's loud and ugly and fast. But fire burns too quickly. It eats up evidence. And I didn't want fire. I wanted precision. I sat in the kitchen before sunrise, watching steam rise from a mug of untouched coffee like a ghost. Outside, the sky was just beginning to lighten, painting the treetops with the first shades of dawn. Emma was still upstairs, probably stretched out across the bed like she owned it, sleeping like she wasn't unraveling her entire life. I unlocked my phone and opened the folder I'd created the night before. Roland 7:42 p.m. Audio clip. Roland 7:58 p.m. Video. GPS logs. Text snippet. He has no clue. Each file felt harmless by itself. But together, they were a noose. By 9 a.m., I was at work, physically at least. My body went through the motions, greeting coworkers, answering emails, sitting in meetings with a blank smile. But inside, I wasn't really there. No one noticed, of course. They never do. People only see the surface unless it's already cracking wide open. During my lunch break, I took the elevator up to the third floor where legal affairs was. I didn't have a case to file or an appointment. Just a few hypotheticals, I said with a half-smile. Questions about privacy, surveillance, divorce, assets. The assistant at the front desk gave me a look. Not judging, just understanding. The kind of look that says, yeah, you're not the first. She handed me a folder full of brochures and pamphlets. I thanked her and left, pretending like I wasn't holding the blueprint to end a marriage. Back in the parking garage, I sat in my car with the door open, letting the late afternoon heat creep in. Across the street was a squat glass office building with clean lines and tinted windows. The sign out front said Roland Wellness and Recovery in a minimalist font, trying too hard to look legitimate. I pulled out my phone and snapped a few pictures of the sign, the building, and especially the black SUV parked in the exact spot I saw on the camera feed. His car. Devon's. He'd unknowingly handed me his fingerprints. I didn't know much about the guy yet, but I was about to learn everything. That evening when I got home, Emma was already in the kitchen. The house smelled like roasted garlic and butter. She was making pasta. Some French indie pop played softly from the speaker like we were living in some artsy European romance. "Hey, stranger," she said, glancing over her shoulder with a sweet smile. "You're home early." I leaned in and kissed her cheek. "Figured I'd surprise you." She smiled back. "Nice surprise. I was thinking we could do a movie night." "Sounds perfect," I said. It did. The perfect stage for the perfect performance. We ate dinner like nothing was broken. I watched her with the kind of attention I'd never given her before. Not the kind that comes from love, but from study. She asked me about my day. Some coworker I'd mentioned once. I answered calmly, casually. Smiled when she smiled. Played my part. But while she was pouring wine and queuing up the movie, I was rewriting the ending. We sat on the couch, legs tangled like always, a romantic comedy flickering on the TV. She laughed in the right spots, touched my hand like it still meant something. But I wasn't laughing. I was listening. Every move she made felt rehearsed. Every touch calculated. Her performance was flawless. But I wasn't the audience anymore. I was the writer. And I already knew how this story would end. It started with a message. I created a burner email. Something untraceable, something clean. Then I attached the footage from her car. The audio file. A snapshot of the GPS log. And one simple sentence. "This is your licensed professional violating her own code." I sent it to her workplace's anonymous ethics complaint portal. No emotion. No threats. Just data. I didn't want to argue. I wanted consequences. And they came quicker than I expected. 2 days later, I was sitting in the living room when I heard her phone ring in the kitchen. She picked up, and within seconds, her voice changed. Tight. Shaky. "What video?" A pause. "No, that can't be. That's not what it looks like." Silence. Then came the word. Suspended. She came into the living room, but her body moved like it wasn't fully hers. Like gravity had changed and she hadn't caught up. "They're putting me on leave," she said. "Someone filed a complaint. They say there's footage and texts." "Jesus," I said, keeping my face neutral. "That's serious." She stared at me, hard, like she was trying to read something in my eyes. I just sipped my coffee. "Do you think... could someone have hacked my phone?" I shrugged. That kind of stuff happens all the time these days. But she knew. Right then, I saw it. She didn't say it, but her eyes did. She knew. She just didn't know how much I knew, or how far I was willing to take it. And that was perfect. The next few days, she barely spoke. Her phone stopped buzzing altogether. No more texts from Devon. No more nervous smiles. One night I walked past the office and saw her sitting at the computer, hunched over. She didn't hear me. She was typing something, then deleting it. Over and over. Like she was trying to figure out how to fix something without knowing what was broken. The next morning, she sat across from me at breakfast, staring down at her bowl like it might tell her what to do. "Do you ever feel like," she started, barely above a whisper, "you did everything right and still somehow wrecked everything?" I didn't answer right away. Just let her squirm a little in her own silence. Then I looked at her and said, calm as ever, "If you wrecked everything, maybe you didn't do everything right." She didn't speak again. Didn't need to. The damage was already working its way through her bones. Slow. Silent. Surgical. The funny thing is, she never asked. Never asked if it was me who sent the footage. Never begged, never confronted, never even said my name with that trembling voice people use when they're trying to keep someone from walking away. It was like she knew, deep down, that any answer wouldn't save her. The damage was already done. A week after the suspension, I came home and found her sitting at the kitchen table. The lights were off. No music. Just her and a glass of wine she hadn't touched. There was a printed email in front of her, folded neatly. The header read, "Professional Conduct Hearing, Formal Review Scheduled." She didn't look up when I walked in. Didn't say anything. Just sat there, like a ghost watching her own life burn down. I made dinner. Ate it alone. She never moved. Later that night, I watched her try to call him. Devon. She stood on the porch with her phone, biting her nail like a nervous teenager. She hit call, and I heard it ring. Once. Twice. Voicemail. She tried again an hour later. No answer. The third time, I saw the message pop up on her screen, "This number is no longer in service." And just like that, he was gone. He didn't love her. He never did. She wasn't his forever. She was just his secret. And secrets get left behind. She came back inside, and for a second, she looked at me like she wanted to say something. Maybe ask for help. Maybe for forgiveness. But I just stood there, holding her gaze without blinking. And she looked away. By the end of that week, word had spread. Not loudly, but in that quiet, sharp way gossip moves in places like ours. The friends she used to do brunch with stopped responding. No more wine nights. No more heart emojis under her photos. She was being erased. Not by me. By her own reflection. She started sleeping in the guest room. Or maybe just lying in there. I don't know if she slept at all anymore. I'd hear her moving around at 2 a.m., pacing the hallway, opening the fridge just to close it again. Sometimes she'd pass me in the hallway and start to speak, but I'd keep walking. Because whatever she was about to say had missed its window. And one morning, she was gone. No note. No bags. Just gone. She left behind a half-drunk mug of tea on the counter, a jacket slung over the back of a chair, and the faintest scent of her perfume still hanging in the air. I walked through the house slowly. Every room felt quieter. Lighter. Like it had finally exhaled. She texted 2 days later. "I'm staying with my sister for a bit. I'll send the address when I figure out what's next." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. The day the divorce was finalized, I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I didn't even tell anyone. I just went for a drive. No music. No GPS. Just silence and road. At a red light, I looked at myself in the rear-view mirror. Really looked. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't see a fool. Or a victim. Or even a husband. I just saw a man who survived it. A man who had kissed a lie, stared it down, and walked away without letting it shatter him. And that was enough. Thank you for visited my YouTube channel. Your support, likes, and comments truly inspire me to create even more engaging content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. You're a part of this amazing community, and I'm thrilled to share my stories with you. See you in the next video on YouTube.